you're not supposed to be using the shofar once you did the mitzvah already. The mitzvah was done, you shouldn't be using the shofar because in general, shofar is an instrument, it's a musical instrument, and a musical instrument is not allowed to go ahead and use on a regular Yom Tov, except because it's Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is a mitzvah of shofar, the rabbis did not place their rabbinic prohibition of musical instruments on Rosh Hashanah. But if they would have placed their rabbinical prohibition, then you will not be performing the mitzvah at all of shofar on Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, you have a right to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah if you're an adult, but if you're a child, the rabbi, when you're a child, the rabbi said that we're going to allow you, because of the importance of training the children, the Mishnah stated we're going to allow the children to go ahead and blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. We're not going to hold them back. Not only we're not going to hold them back, the Mishnah stated will actually be involved in helping them, training them on Rosh Hashanah regarding the blowing of the shofar. That's what the Mishnah stated. So we're on 33a2. So the Mishnah stated of asking behem, the top of the page, we're involved with the children until they learn, and they should learn how to blow the shofar properly. So the Gemara says the following. Omar Rabbi Elazar says, Afilu b'Shabbat, even b'Shabbat, even on Shabbat, we would be involved in teaching them how to blow the shofar, even though you don't blow the shofar on Shabbat. I'm going to get out the Shulchan Aruch about this. So we said that even though you can't go ahead.
The clock is down. What? The time. Over there.
Oh crap! It came off.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We're going to allow them to blow the shofar in order that they should learn how to blow the shofar. It's here in the 33.8.2. So now the rabbis decreed that you don't blow the shofar on Shabbat. Why don't you blow the shofar on Shabbat? Right? We know if Rosh Hashanah comes down on Shabbat, you can't blow the shofar. We don't blow the shofar, correct? Why is that? Because they're concerned that maybe because you're going to come to carry, because you're busy with the mitzvah, you're going to go carry the shofar in public property. In order to go to a chacham, in order to go to an expert to go ahead and help you, show you how to blow the shofar. So this concern, if somebody is busy to do the mitzvah of shofar, so you feel the, I don't want to call it stress because you don't want to refer to mitzvah as stress, but you feel the kosher pressure, so to speak, of doing the mitzvah. So because you feel that kosher pressure of doing the mitzvah, you might come to, you feel that the mitzvah so strongly, you might just come to forget and come to go outside the house to go ahead and carry the shofar. But the Tiferet Yisrael says, but somebody who is not blowing the shofar for the purpose of mitzvah, but you don't have that responsibility of the mitzvah, of performing the mitzvah today, because let's say you're doing it just for the sake of training. You want to train the child how to blow the shofar. So we're not going to, right. Very good. So an adult practicing so he already, I don't, that's a good question. We have to look more on, he's practicing for the day of he needs it for Rosh Hashanah. We'll have to see what it says in halacha, if you're practicing for the need of Rosh Hashanah, or just, if he just wants to practice, to train himself, we would just, he wants it, but he should, let's say he's not going to be performing the mitzvah that day. He's not performing, he already did the mitzvah. He wants to practice today for the next year, that he wouldn't be able to do. He He wants to practice today for the next day. So you wouldn't I don't think we'll tell him to practice on one day for the next day. The question would be, on the next day, could he practice on that same day for that day? See what I'm saying? Meaning on the day, if today is Rosh Hashanah, and he already blew the shofar. So now he says, I need more practice. So what is he now practicing for? For the next day. Oh, right. So we'll have to see. We have to look at in the right. We're gonna have to look at right, and then he needs to practice again. Right, that's Mark's question. But we'll have to look up the halacha exactly. But general rule is that once you blew the shofar in Rosh Hashanah, once you're not supposed to be busy blowing. You're not supposed to blow the shofar because remember there is a rabbinic issue of blowing an instrument on Yom Tov. So we're not going to now nothing to do with Shabbat. Meaning to say, right? There's nothing to do with Shabbat. You can't blow a shofar on any Yom Tov. On Sukkot, I want to blow the shofar on Sukkot. Can I blow the shofar on Sukkot? I can't do that. So now regarding Shabbat, we're saying that the concern of carrying the shofar, that you might come to carry the shofar and bring it to the expert. That's the Tiferet Yisrael wants to say that we're not as concerned when the child is doing it when it's not, you don't feel that that you're not doing it because you have to do the mitzvah today, because it's not for the purpose of fulfilling the mitzvah. It's not that you be busy with the shofar. You're just training the child. Therefore, he says the rabbis did not place their prohibition, and they allowed you to go ahead. Good morning, Asaf. They allowed you to go ahead and blow and let the children and train the children. Even this opinion says even on the Shabbat. Morning, Jaime.
Morning, Rabbi.
We are on 3382. Now, so the way we're explaining the Gemara, if Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbat, the rabbis did not make their gzera regarding children. So that would be a fascinating difference in leniency that will be for children compared to adults. And when Rosh Hashanah comes down on Shabbat, according to this understanding, the adults are not involved in shofar. The rabbis say no shofar today because Rosh Hashanah comes down on Shabbat. But the children we could have the children blowing the shofar for themselves to train them, and you could even actually, according to this opinion, you could actually be involved. You could actually tell them, direct them, and there's even an opinion that says you could actually help them actually blowing with them. There's an opinion, meaning to say there's an opinion, Mark, that says like this: since you're only training the child, you're not blowing. It's the training of the child. So there's an opinion that says you could go ahead and actually show them how to blow. You can show them how to blow, and you could actually be blowing in a training session. You're not blowing for the purpose of the mitzvah of shofar, because that you're not allowed to blow the mitzvah of shofar when it comes out on Shabbat. Because, like we said, according to Tiferet Yisrael, because since if you have the mitzvah, you might come to carry the shofar. But if you're going to do this, but if you're doing it for the children, to train the children, when Rosh Hashanah comes down, okay, we'll have to see. But it doesn't say. It seems this. It doesn't seem that okay. Well, the Gemara just says for children you could train the children. However, there are some Rishonim that says that this allowance that will allow the children to blow the shofar when Rosh Hashanah comes down on Shabbat is only in a situation when the adults when there was actually a blowing of the shofar on the Shabbat. What was the case? You remember that the Gemara early, the Rosh Hashanah spoke about if you're doing in front of a bezdin, in front of a court, that if there's done in front of a court, in front of a Sanhedrin, and there was even an opinion of the Rift, and in the time of Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, when Rosh Hashanah came in on Shabbat, he actually blew the shofar on Shabbat. It was in front of a court. We don't do that today. We don't blow the shofar when Rosh Hashanah comes on a Shabbat. But in a time period that they actually blew the shofar on Shabbat, since there is the mitzvah of shofar on that Shabbat, so then you could train them to blow on that Shabbat. But in our days where we don't blow anywhere on Shabbat, so then there's no difference between this Shabbat and any other Shabbat, and you would not be able to, we won't to allow and be involved with the children to train them to blow the shofar on Shabbat of Rosh Hashanah in our days. So that is a Shabbat of Rosh Hashanah. So Shabbat of Rosh Hashanah today, in our time period, Shabbat of Rosh Hashanah, would you be able to train the children or even allow the children to be involved in blowing the shofar? So that we will not. But let's say on a regular Rosh Hashanah that's not on Shabbat, normal Rosh Hashanah, so even the adults that after they blow, they blew the shofar, we will tell them not to be involved in the shofar once they finish blowing the shofar. But the children, we will encourage the children and train them to blow the shofar. So if you look in that's what the Gemara says. So let's see how the Gemara. So far, okay. So we have to look more into Mark's question about an adult working on his blowing on a regular Rosh Hashanah. We say when the adult finishes blowing the shofar, he's not supposed to be involved in blowing the shofar once he did the mitzvah already. So now if he wants to, so for sure if he wants to train for next year, he wants to improve himself, he can't do that. That's for sure. An adult could on Rosh Hashanah, if an adult finished blowing the shofar, and he said, Mark wants to know if he already finished it, he already blew, he just wants to train for today. That's Mark.
But a child can practice.
And he wants to train. Right. So that's Mark. Right. So that's right. Right. So we have to look up Mark's case for sure. So let's say what we know for sure. Let's see what's not known yet. What's known for sure, and when an adult finishes blowing the shofar, he finished in the morning at 12 o'clock. If he wants to go ahead and blow the shofar at 2 o'clock, just he wants to strengthen his skills, not for a purpose that he plans on blowing for someone else that day. That he should not be blowing. Now, Mark's question is, the adult blew already and he's going to blow for somebody else that day, and he wants to strengthen his skills, or he didn't blow yet and he wants to strengthen his skills early in the morning. So that's what we have to, but we definitely will tell the person in general that he should be doing all this training before. That we will tell him. Okay, but now we have to figure out the answer to Mark's. The rabbi have some homework to do. Okay, so the Gemara says, we involve with the children until they go ahead and learn how to blow the shofar. And we said, Rabbi Lazar said, you got the Gemara? I feel a b'Shabbat. Tanya nami hachi. Then the Gemara says, we learned in a Braita like this as well. Mit askin behem ashil medu. We're involved with the children to involve with them and training them to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, not only on a regular Rosh Hashanah, when the Rosh Hashanah comes out by weekday, but even b'Shabbat. Even Rosh Hashanah that comes on a Shabbat, which, the children, don't have the same, and according to the first opinion, we're saying we're going to make an allowance on Shabbat for the children that we will not allow for the adults. For the adults, Shabbat, Rosh Hashanah comes on a Shabbat, they're not involved in shofar. We don't blow shofar on Shabbat. But for the children, we'll allow them. According to that opinion, we'll allow the children even when we don't blow the shofar. And the other opinion is that when we blow the shofar, when we blow it in front of, and it's blown in front of a court, when Rosh Hashana comes on Shabbat, in a time period that they actually would blow specifically only in certain places, where in front of a court, because when you're in front of the court will be on top of its game, and to make sure that nobody will come to carry the shofar on Shabbat. Not only we will go ahead and blow the shofar on that Shabbat in front of the court, we'll even allow you, when you're not in front of a court, to train the children on shofar. That would be the chidush, the novelty of this allowance for the children, that it's not about the mitzvah of shofar, to fulfill the mitzvah of the biblical mitzvah of shofar, because it's about the children, which is a rabbinic mitzvah, and there's a general, there's rabbinic issues of blowing an instrument on Yom Tov, and here we're training the children, but because we want to train the children, we'll allow, even though it's not in front of a court, we'll allow you to go ahead and blow the shofar, allow the children to blow the shofar, allow to train them on Shabbat. That's what the Gemara is saying. Now, so there are those that actually say he can blow what? Showing them that's how some understand he actually could blow in the form of training. Some say not. The aim makvin, the Braita continues. Yehuda, if you want, you could the aim makvin et atinokot militkoa. And the Braita continues. We don't hold back the children from blowing for Shabbat. The aim sarach loma b'yom tov. Certainly, when Rosh Hashana comes out during a weekday, we're going to go ahead and sure, we're not going to hold back the kids. We want to train the kids. The kids want to learn how to blow the shofar. We're going to encourage that. Certainly, we'll encourage them blowing the shofar on a Rosh Hashana comes out on a Sunday through Friday. But not only we're going to encourage the training of shofar Sunday through Friday, if Rosh Hashana comes out any day between Sunday and Friday, if Rosh Hashana comes out on Shabbat, we're also going to encourage the training of the children. We can have a class on Rosh Hashana. Jaime's going to encourage the class for the children. We're going to have a special class for the children, teaching them how to blow the shofar. This is the way the Gemara is saying that we can even hold that class on Shabbat, even hold that training course on Shabbat. That's what the Gemara was saying. So the Gemara has a question on the language of this Braita. Because look at the Gemara is analyzing the language. Here's the question. Hagufa kasha. The Braita, the statement, seems to be contradicting itself. What's the contradiction? Amrit, you told me. You told me mit askim behem ash yilmedu. You engage with the children until they learn how to blow the shofar. Right? Adam, I got to train them good. I feel it Shabbat. Even on Shabbat, you can be training them. So what do we see? Alma lechatchila aminan. This is something that we will actually lechatchila. Lechatchila means in the beginning. We actually encourage this. We tell them tiku. See here, we tell the children blow. To hear from the language mark, it says we tell them to blow. Okay, but we could be blowing and showing them how to blow. But we tell the children to blow. That means we are telling them, boys, this is something that you should do. Let's go, blow. V'hadatana, and then you told me you don't stop them from blowing. When you say we don't stop the kids. What does it sound like? You don't stop the children, but you won't tell them to do it. You don't encourage them to do it. So v'hadatana emakvin. You don't stop the children. Right, Ralph? We don't just stop them, morning Mars. But we will not tell them tiku. We will not tell them to do it. Sometimes in life, there's something that's the lechatchila and it's b'diavad. Sometimes, you don't encourage certain behavior, but sometimes we say if a person does it, don't have to protest, let it go. So here we're saying if the indication is the children do it on their own, you don't have to, you don't stop them. So the one wants to know, so what is it? Is it that you're actually encouraging the children on Rosh Hashanah to train them? Do you actually call a class? Or is it just if the child starts blowing, you just don't stop him? So the Gemara says the following. Look, Hasha, there's no contradiction. What depends on the age of the child. Now we're turning the page. Now you're on 33b, 1. B'katan shehegia lechinuch, b'katan shelo hegia lechinuch. So Rashi interprets the Gemara, a child that reached the age of training, there's certain, there's certain age that a child at 3, at 4 is not yet ready to be trained. It's fine, certain ages, different mitzvot that they have different ages of when they're ready, they understand the mitzvah, and shofar most probably also needs certain coordination to be able to blow a shofar. Maybe it's 10, 11, whatever the age is for the shofar. So, and by the way, when a child reaches that age, there's an obligation for the parent to train that child. Not necessarily the child has to actually blow the shofar. The child has to come to the synagogue and hear the blowing of the shofar because he's at age of chinuch, right? We train children to, just like sukkah. A child, when he reaches a certain age, he can't be eating his meal outside the sukkah. You have to train the child. So once he reaches the age of chinuch, of training, so then you have to go. Then we involve with them, and we actually, we help them, we encourage them, we tell them blow the shofar. There's something that we're going to encourage. But the brighter that says we don't stop them is the child that did not reach the age of chinuch, and he did not reach the age of chinuch. He did not reach the age of training yet, and then it's Rosh Hashanah, and he picks up the shofar, right? So he says that child will not, since there's no obligation to train him in the shofar, we will not tell him then. So that child we don't tell to blow the shofar, because in general, right? We said in general, instruments on holidays, let's say on Sukkot, on Shavuot, if someone wants to use it, you can't go ahead and blow the shofar on the other Yom Tov, because Yom Tov you don't blow a shofar. So therefore, if the child did not reach the age of training, so you would not go ahead and be allowed to tell the child to go ahead and blow the shofar, because you're telling him to do something. There is no mitzvah for the child that he's not of age of training. So therefore, you will not tell him to do something which would be like you're encouraging him to do something which is no mitzvah, and you're encouraging him to do the blowing of something that there would be a problem of a musical instrument. But if he goes ahead and he picks up the musical instrument, you don't have to stop it. So that's the thing over here. So the commentaries say in the Gemara and Yuma, there's a discussion. What is the time that a child reaches the age of training? Some say 8 years old, some say 9 years old, depending on, some say 9, some say 10, depending how sharp the child is. And Tosfos says that this discussion of the age of a child, of what age is a child ready for, to train him, you have an obligation as a parent. A father has an obligation to train his children. Tosfos says this argument has to do with training the child to fast on Yom Kippur. What's the age that the child is ready to fast on Yom Kippur? We know in practice, we train the child the year before bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, they fast. Mm-hmm. We also train them before that. Even an 11-year-old child, we train them a certain amount of hours. You don't, push away, if you eat at a certain time, you should fast a certain amount of hours. There's discussion exactly when do we start that training process for a child regarding fasting on Yom Kippur, what their age might be. But when it comes to other mitzvot, it depends. Tosfos says it all depends on the type of mitzvah that it is. And when a child understands the mitzvah and he knows how to perform the mitzvah, so therefore Tosfos says that's called he's reached the age of training for that mitzvah. Okay. Now the Gemara continues. Lo yotza. We said if someone blows in the shofar, and he blew in the shofar without intention that a sound should come out of the shofar. It happened to be that a sound came out. He was he didn't intend that a sound to come out of the shofar, and so one of the commentaries say what will be the case. So one case would be, let's say he had a mind to blow short sounds. Let's say instead of the tekiah, we're going to learn that the tekiah sound, let's say, two has a certain length, right? You can't fulfill the mitzvah of tekiah if you blow two. That's not a tekiah. It's a certain duration of time. So his intention was to blow for not the time of tekiah, not that duration, let's say, of time. But instead, he went ahead and he blew. It blew long. He blew longer than he intended. He did not intend to blow. That is, he didn't intend to blow that size. That is one idea. The other case possible is I was blowing into the shofar. Let's say I was blowing. I want to clear the shofar. Something you ever see a person goes, he blows into it. But I was not intending that a sound should come out. Now we're going back to the Mishnah and adult. Now that we finished the thing with the child. Now we're talking about the adult. The adult went ahead and he blew the shofar without intention. He was just engaged in it and involved with it without the intention to blow. That's how the Gemara is understanding at this point. And I'm just trying to think what's the case that you did not intend to blow and you blew a shofar. I mean, how do you blow a shofar without intending to blow a shofar? So
Makes
one
no
way
sense.
is what do you say?
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense. So therefore we gave two possibilities. One, I was planning on just clearing the shofar, like I said. And instead of clearing the shofar, an actual sound came out. That's a probable type of case, right? And the other possible case we said is that you were not intending to blow the amount of time. You only intend to blow a certain amount of time, and you actually blew longer. So what did the Mishnah say in that case? If you were not intending to do you weren't intending to do the mitzvah. So here there's 2 points. As Jaime early in the week, when we did the Mishnah, Jaime brought up the idea of mitzvah needs kavanah. A mitzvah needs intent. So it's not only you did not have intention to perform the mitzvah, because I wasn't planning on doing the mitzvah, because I wasn't planning on blowing the length of time that I needed to blow, or I wasn't even planning on blowing a sound at all. But not only that, I did not now. So let's understand what is let's say a classical case of mitzvah, doing a mitzvah without intention. On Rosh Hashana, I'm blowing the shofar for musical purposes. I like the sound. It's a beautiful sound. And now after I blew it for musical purposes, I wasn't intending to do the mitzvah, but I did it the way the mitzvah is performed. I actually did it right. Do I get credit for the mitzvah? Do I got to do the mitzvah again, Morris? That's the question, right? Do I have to do it again? That's the case. I would say mitzvah, you didn't have kavanah. That's the question in the Gemara. If mitzvah needs kavanah, doesn't need kavanah. We looked at the Shulchan Aruch, mitzvah needs kavanah. So that will be one of those cases. But here, not only now we here in our case, you didn't even intend to blow. Say it again. So now when you say No, Mark is answering if a person's praying. And now again, Mark, let's understand this. I want to point out what Mark is saying, and I want to clarify this point. There's two type of kavanot in, let's say, davening. Let's say when you're davening, there's something called, let's say you're going to say the Amidah, you're going to say the Shema Esrei. There's kavana, let's say something, or say the Shema. There's kavana, something called kavana to perform a mitzvah, and there's a kavana of understanding what you're saying. That you're not saying that.
Okay, I'm going to say now, so concentrate. Or if I just read through it.
Right. So even if you read again, if you're reading, very good. But when a person, right, because when you're reading the Amidah, your intention is to pray. So the fact that you have intention to pray, even if you're even if you're thinking about the Yankee, but your attention, I mean, you're thinking about Trump, right? Which we have to be careful not to be thinking about Trump during davening, right? Even if you're thinking about Trump, but you're still intending, your intention here is to pray. Now, if see, the question will be if
so now if I have intention to make the sound to blow for
right. But so here when you have but we're saying your intention when you're praying is to do the mitzvah of prayer. The guy who's blowing that shofar, if he did not have intention for the mitzvah, he did not have intention for the mitzvah. Right? The guy who's blowing the shofar had no intention. The cases that we gave, he had no intention of the mitzvah. He was only intending to make a sound, which would not be enough to qualify, or he was intentioning, or he wasn't even intentioned to making a sound at all. Now, so the Gemara says, but there is, by the way, Rav Chaim Soloveitchik from the Brisker dynasty, where he discusses the idea that prayer, you have to know if you forget that if you're not even thinking that you're in front of Hashem, so maybe that's not, maybe you're missing out on the prayer. Maybe it's not like a prayer at all. The guy, you don't remember that you're, who you're talking to. So that's something to think about. So the Gemara says, so the Mishnah, the Gemara says, lo yotza. The Mishnah says, if you're just engaged in the shofar, but you weren't intending to blow a sound that would be sufficient for the mitzvah, you do not get credit. But what about hatakei l'shir? If you're blowing for musical purposes, so there is an intention to blow, but there's not the intention to blow for a mitzvah. So the Gemara is saying, I have in mind, there's an inference of the Gemara. The inference is, if I intended to do it, I intended to blow, and I intend to blow the amount that needs to be blown. So that the Gemara is thinking at this point, that's not the case of the Mishnah. Meaning the case of the Mishnah is either I didn't intend to blow, or I intend to blow, but not the right amount for the mitzvah. But what about if I both intended to blow, and I intended to blow the right amount that's needed for the mitzvah? I mean, I intended to do those sounds, that duration of the sound, but I just wasn't thinking about the mitzvah. So the Gemara's understanding, maybe that would seem to indicate that I would get credit for the mitzvah. That's what the Gemara is inferring. The Gemara is thinking that way. The Gemara is going to say maybe not. And the meaning to say, what is the Gemara? Because the Gemara is trying to figure out if you blow a shofar for the purpose of musical purposes, with the intention to do the sound the way that you're supposed to do the sound. But the only thing that you were missing, everything was done the way, but the only thing was intent, would you get credit or not? And this is a major argument among the later rabbis, and the Gemara wants to suggest that there's an inference from our Mishnah that you would get credit. Well,
I intend to pray, but I have no intent about what that blessing.
Right. But the question is, but that's a better case, Mark, because you intended, you at least you intend to do mitzvah praying. This guy has no, he's just pretending to play music. I want to blow this, and he did it. He did it, and he intended to do the sound of a tkiya and a trua tkiya. But I intend to do a tkiya. I intend to do a trua. I intend to do it exactly. I want to mirror that guy and the one who blew the shofar. I want to do it exactly the way he did it. But I'm not thinking about mitzvah. I love the sound, and I did it. I did exactly the way the mitzvah is supposed to be performed. I did 100. If you look at me and you look at the guy, to the onlooker who walks in, he says, you both did an exactly same job. But no intent. And you see the power of your mindset? You see your mindset. We hold, you have to do it again. Because if you didn't have your intent, you have to do it again. But the Gemara, but that's not so simple. Right. So bracha and mitzvah does not hold you back from a mitzvah. Meaning, if you go ahead and you put on tefillin this morning, and you finished putting on tefillin, and then you went home, and I forgot to say a bracha on my tefillin. I forgot to say a bracha on my talit. I got credit. Or if I took the lulav and etrog, and I did. Now, if you still have your tefillin on and you didn't say a bracha, you still say the bracha because you're still involved in the mitzvah. But let's say you took the lulav and etrog, and I did, and I had in mind to do the mitzvah lulav and etrog, and I did not say the bracha. You still get credit because you intend if you intended to do the mitzvah lulav and etrog, you get credit. If you took a lulav and etrog, because you know what, I want to mirror what that guy did. I'm not intending to. I don't want. It's right. It's just like playing the musical instrument. If you don't have a mind, I have a mind. If I have a mind, that's why. If I have a mind not to fulfill the mitzvah, the brach is a rabbinic mitzvah that the rabbis instituted to say that before you perform a mitzvah, say the bracha. A guy went in and he dipped the utensil in the mikveh, but he did not say the bracha before he dipped the utensil. He got the mitzvah of the utensil of the dipping, but he did not do it with the bracha that he was supposed to do it. That's a rabbinic law. The rabbinic law is to say a bracha on the mitzvah. The mitzvah could be a biblical mitzvah, but it's a rabbinic law, and that does not hold you back from getting credit for the mitzvah. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. We'll take the words of Mark. Everyone should have beautiful kavanah in their tefillah and their prayer this morning, not to be thinking about other things, focusing on everything we
So
said.
what happens when your mind wanders when you're praying? You have to stop and focus again?
Exactly. 100%, Ralph. You got it.
Okay.
And everybody has to have their own tricks how not to lose focus. I like to put my finger on the words. I follow with my finger. That helps me a lot. I know everyone has to figure out what makes you help, what works for you. Mark is sharing an idea.
Before you say the beracha, before you say any beracha, like if you say the tshuva and every one of the beracha, I'm about to say the beracha for tshuva. Okay, now say it. So it puts you on spot on.
But if you know, in the article sitter, they before each bracha.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's good. Good thought.
Thank you.
They have that word. They say before the bracha, say tshuva, refuah, panasa.
Right.
That's a setup to focus on that before you. Right. The article sitter has that.
Let's do it, H.
Good morning, Mark. Great
All
to
right.
see you.
Looking good.
Thank you, brother.
So, did you like my person I sent you to?
Love. Very good. Very
She's
good. Thank
very
you.
deep.
Thank
She's
you.
Deep.
Oh, yeah. She went in deep. Love you. Have a great day.
You too.
What were you going to ask me? I'm sorry. I cut you off.
I wanted to ask, did she do scraping or acupuncture? Which one?
Both.
Really?
Yeah, I needed the full menu. Love you.
Feel good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. Have a great day.
Bye-bye, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you.